What's going on, guys? I have to talk about this. Look, the Super Mario film, if you hadn't seen my review, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good adaptation, and I definitely think it'll appeal to not only fans of the franchise, but also people that don't know much about Mario, who haven't played the games. It's good for adults, and it is good for the youth. So it's just an all-around good experience, and definitely has been breaking a lot of box office records in terms of video game films. Now, the Super Mario Bros. Movie continues to boom in theaters as the animated movie is slated to top 1 billion at the global box office. Now, this film dropped in April 5th, and it's already, currently, the film has grossed nearly 900 million in nearly 3 weeks. That is impressive, especially given the state of what's been going on in movies, in Hollywood, in the film industry, how movie theaters, people really aren't going to the movie theaters as much as they used to, and just generally the whole environment when it comes to social media, pop culture, and what has been established in Hollywood. But the world continues to support this really good film. So far, Mario has generated 434 million in North America and 437 million overseas. It has more than made its money back on $100 million budget. Super Mario landed as the biggest video game adaptation of all time, and I wanted to give you some numbers because it has surpassed all other, pretty much doubled in every other video game adaptation. It has surpassed Sonic the Hedgehog, which had 400. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which had $405 million. Warcraft, which had $439 million. Rampage, which had $428 million. Detective Pikachu, $433 million, and Uncharted, who ended up having $401 million. Now, this movie just continues to dominate, and going into the fourth week, we can hope to see another that easily hit that billion by the end of this weekend. This film was actually really good. Now, despite if you say, hey, you don't like the narrative, hey, you don't like who voiced who, it doesn't stop the overall experience of how good the film actually is. Now, there is definitely a lot that could have been done better, especially in terms of the story, but that's not saying that the film itself isn't enjoyable. It isn't saying that the film itself is bad. It's actually still solid and possibly the best video game adaptation of all time. Now, why is this film has so much hype behind it? Because it is Super Mario, one of the absolute biggest franchises in the entire world, and maybe it does have the video game fan base pushing for that, but I think it's also doing a really good job because it's actually a good film. And I think of all these other films that had really big fan bases behind them but didn't hit that $1 billion mark. And to ask the question, is the $1 billion mark now the new bar for all of these films? We have films like Avatar, Way of the Water, Top Gun, Maverick, Spider-Man, No Way Home, Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity Wars, Joker. You know, we had all of these films that ended up hitting that $1 billion mark. So is the $1 billion the new bar for these, for Hollywood to try to make their money and everything? But going back to what the fan base is, it's just generally a good film, because look at what happened with all of these other films. Buzz, what was it? The Lightyear film. Look at the Thor film. Look at Ant-Man. You know, there's a lot. Look at what happened with Black Adam and Shazam. It comes to a point now where you can't just rely on the fan base. People will go out to support these films. Because even Godzilla versus Kong, one of the two of the biggest kaiju IPs in the world, next to probably Gamera, but even they didn't come close to $1 billion, and that's probably due to the fact that it wasn't fully released in theaters, but more into streaming services during, you know, the sick time that we had. But Even that didn't even get it. Even if you look at the MonsterVerse films, they didn't even get it, and they have such a huge fan base behind them as well. But just to say, I'm glad to see that Mario is finally getting his just due in the movies, and I'm looking forward to a sequel. Now, the whole Nintendo Cinematic Universe is another conversation, but like I said, we have enough story and characters in the Mario mythology to just make multiple films. So I think we should concentrate on that. Now, the question is, since we did hit the film is going to hit $1 billion. No question about that. If it makes a sequel, will that sequel be just as good? And that's a question I definitely hope that they can actually answer and in a positive way. So guys, in the comment section below, let me know, what are your thoughts? Have you seen the Super Mario Bros. Movie? What did you think of it? Be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and that notification button to get the best we got going on in this channel.